104.7 The Cave plays pure classic rock.
I grabbed my retired Navy hat. Like I said, I've got another one. I wore one when I first got out. My career had been, it's been the most outstanding you could probably understand. I mean, from a point of view of most rewarding and most just diversified, from the engineering standpoint, and tested for the ASVABs that, took me in. They said, that I could be anything I'd wanted to be. And he said, make him, a non-nuclear machinist mate. My dad he went in first as a boiler tech, BT, which is, that's the bottom of the barrel. That's what anybody that goes into the military that does not have a rating, that didn't make a deal when they went in, that didn't have any choice, that got in trouble with the law, and they said, throw them in the, fireman.
Give them some structure,
You're a fireman.
Yeah.
You put out the fires on the ship, the fireman hoses, and you're in the engineering, basically block structure, the bows of the ship. You work on the shitters, you work on the fire main, you work on all of the pumps and the generators and the lighting and all of the basic hotel services for the ship. The steam for the cooking. You don't have gas fires and stuff in the galleys. Basically, it's all steam heated. You bake everything. Boil your steaks. You get good cuts, good meat, good cuts of meat, and they'll just ruin them. They'll stack them side by side. T-bone steaks, porterhouse steaks, ribeyes, whatever they get, and they'll just stack them side by side. Put water on them, throw them in an oven.
Just let them steam.
And just let them steam. They come out green. I'd come by and I'd say, please, man, just throw one on and warm it up. I don't have time, by God, look, man, just throw it on, 5 seconds one side, 5 seconds out, and you're going to eat it. By God, I'm going to eat it. Just brown it one side. By God, I want to see this. By God, they'd throw it on one side, brown it, throw it on the other side. I'd go to sit down at the table, go to cut into that thing, rip it apart with a fork. Everybody would get up as soon as I'd start to throw that in my mouth. It's just about raw, but that's the
better
whole side, because you don't eat. Man, you're living off cans of beanie weenies. Set them up on a steam gun. If you forget to pop the top on them, they'll explode. And the beans go everywhere. Then you got the top watch, or the supervisor down there on your.
Yeah.
He's on your butt bad. An aircraft carrier has so many decks. It's 17, equivalent to a 17-story building, all the way to the top of that thing. And you get down, we're 50 foot below the water level is where we're working. Mm-hmm. And the decks, 7 decks down, 7 decks up, 7 decks in the shafts, have to penetrate all these spaces. And when you've got 4 engine rooms, boiler rooms that go up all the way to forward of the ship, you've got 4 shafts that come out, and each are compartmented. And where they go through the walls, you have sills and you have bearings, and you have the journal bearings, the line shaft bearings that support the shafts. Then you have thrust bearings. The longer shafts have, like 2 thrust bearings, and you have a thrust bearing in your main reduction gears that keep the shaft from running up through the ship. You have to anchor it to the ship to make the shift move, because of the great amount of torsion is created by the thrust of the propellers. Well, those generally have to be monitored every hour, and you don't have, because the ships were built back in the 50s and 60s, as they're changing out. We're getting the new nuclear carriers that are being built now. Well, the Enterprise was built back in like 64, but that was the first nuclear. I think it was like 60, it was about 68 on the Enterprise. The Kitty Hawk was built about 64. That's was the first of the class of the super carriers, back then, back from the Jeep carriers. But that's 80,000 ton displacement. The ones they're building now, they're like 150, 160,000 ton displacement, which is just, you can't imagine. The Kitty Hawk, all the way around the flight deck, up on the flight deck, it's better than a quarter mile long.
Yeah.
So it's almost, friggin' quarter mile up one side, quarter mile down the other side. It's a half. Putting it through, a half and a little bit more than about an eighth on that. But that's a lot of space to cover. People can jog around that. Range, so many times around it. We get up 5 to 6 miles. But the 7 decks up and down, they're straight vertical accesses for most of the spaces, and they'll have safety nets, and they're no bigger than about the size of that vestibule right there. You cut it in half,
Yeah.
Okay, and it's
So
just
if you were
it's
like-
just a straight ladder going down, but they'll have halfway down they'll have a hatch, a big iron hatch maybe, and a little scuttle, just big enough for you to get your body and like an OBA, an oxygen breathing apparatus that you put on that you would take down, and like to put out fires or something where you could get a hose. If it was flooding, that's the water tank. The access for the man, the big dogged hatches. Well, the mouthy messengers and machinist mates would end up having to go check like 2 main and 3 main, or the aft group there. Then you'd have auxiliary spaces, and then you'd have the 1 main and the 4 main up front. They'd take the messengers from aft, and they'd have to check 6 spaces up 7 decks, up, down, every hour. So that's all 6 up and down climbing the ladders, and you got herped out. But we'd also have to work in between the hourly run, which is needle gunning, and painting down them spaces. So we'd take them safety nets out to pass paint up and down through them. So every hour you're flying up 7 decks, down 7 decks, up 7 decks, down 7 decks, up 7 decks, down 7 decks, and then back and forth. Well, you've got to get these readings, take them all the way forward, which they call damage control central, and get them wrote in the logs, or to back down to your main space and get them wrote in the logs, and then go back down and finish your work. Coming to the military and you don't have a class or a school, guaranteed school, guaranteed rating, you get thrown in there and you get people that just can't take it. They're not cut from the same breed. And people say, why would you want to stay, your whole career down in such damnable, unusual and arduous conditions? Well, somebody's got to, and somebody's got to take care of their kids. And I believe that was my call for the military, was to take care of these kids and not to rise. I mean, I could have been an E9, I could have been an officer, I could have been anything in the world that I wanted to be. And most of the kids that work for me are.
Yeah.
And they have gone up and they said, Sprague, I hated you. I hated, how hard you drove us and what, I made them learn. Everybody else was given, going back to at 17, being the youngest top watching Pacific Fleet, I went 2 years without getting any liberty or any leave. I had so much leave on the books that they were taking leave away from me. You can only have 65, use it or lose it leave. And I had to go to Command Master Chief, and go see these guys and say, look, they won't let me go. We've got LOE, we've got write-off examinations, we've got refresher trainings, we've got, boiler examinations, we've got this. I'm just an 18-year-old kid, and they say I can't go home because you're too valuable. You're too expensive, because they kept me down in the bilges. I started tracing systems, started tracing lines while I was down there. But going back to falling down in trucks, when you're mouthing and if you take advantage of being down there where they put you in the bilges and the dirty places and the needle gunning and all this, you get to learning. But back to the escape trunks, I fell 7 decks down them things and reached out and grabbed a ladder rung and ripped my shoulders out. Now at my age, I'm 52 years old. Okay, now I feel them.
104.7 The Cave plays pure classic rock.